Hello. Good evening, everybody. Today, I am going to explain about data mining. So this is my presentation outline. Why data mining? What is data mining? Knowledge discovery process, applications. So why data mining? So why data mining? So generally, the computerization of our society has substantially enhanced our capabilities for both generating and collecting data from various sources. So the huge amounts of data was collected and stored in information repositories. This tremendous amount of data has flooded in almost every aspect of our lives. So the data may be a size terabytes or petabytes of data pour into our computer networks, World Wide Web, and other information storage devices. So actually data came from major sources of data from business, science, society and everyone, and social media analytics also. So in the business, data came web, e-commerce, transactions, stock market, and the scientific data, bioinformatics, scientific simulation, medical research, and engineering, etc. Society and everywhere. So we are data generated from the news articles, cameras, videos, even social media data also. Lot of data was generated nowadays from individual to every organization generating huge amounts of data. So analyzing such data is an important need. We will analyzing data is an important need because some hidden information is there in that data. So this explosive growth in stored or transient data has generated an urgent need for new techniques and powerful automation tools are needed. So automated tools can assist us in transforming the vast amounts of data into useful information and knowledge. So the tools are required. These tools are transforming data into useful information and knowledge. So this has led to the generation of a promising and flourishing frontier in computer science called data mining. So the generation of promising and flourishing frontier in computer science called data mining. So this actually data mining is an interdisciplinary subfield of computer science. Is the computational process of discovering patterns in large data sets involving methods at the intersection of artificial intelligence, machine learning, statistics, and database management systems. So data mining is an interdisciplinary subfield of computer science. So it is the computational process of discovering patterns in large data sets involving methods at intersection of artificial intelligence, machine learning, statistics, and database management systems. So any field, data mining techniques can be applied to interdisciplinary field for finding any information from the diverse data types. So, but what is a data mining? Simply, data mining is popularly termed as knowledge discovery in database. So, the popular term as data mining is nothing but a knowledge discovery in databases. We will discover knowledge in these databases. Or one more, data mining is the process of discovering interesting patterns and knowledge from large amounts of data. So we are discovering interesting patterns or knowledge, that knowledge useful for decision makers. So decision maker, because lot of data is there. We are being in a position to generating huge amounts of data regarding scientific instruments, data collection and storage capabilities are enhanced. That's why the data, huge amounts of data is there. But what can you do with this data? Otherwise, until any useful function to us. That's why so organizations must inspecting this data for fulfilling their business needs. So data mining have various alternate names are there. So knowledge discovery databases, knowledge extraction, data analysis, data archaeology, etc. So number of various alternative synonyms are there, but mostly popularly calling data mining. So what is a mining unit? What is a mining? So actually, so gold came from rocks. Gold came from rocks. So we'll call gold mining. So, but what is the gold from gold mining? So we are applying some processing on this raw material and finding a pattern or it is useful to the like ornament. So even the coal also came, coal mining or stone mining, sand mining means it is came from the rocks, performing some operation on that rocks or gold raw material and finding a useful nuggets. So that might nothing but a discovering knowledge, or patterns from large amounts of data, So actually, there are a number of definitions are there. So data mining is the automated extraction of useful patterns. So data mining is the automated extraction of useful patterns representing knowledge implicitly stored or captured in large databases, data warehouses, web, other information repositories, or data streams. The patterns must be valid, novel, potentially useful, and understandable. What was knowledge? Draw out it. What was information gained from the data? It must be valid, novel, potential, and useful to the organization in order to making a decision-making process. So this is the data mining definition. So data mining nothing but a process of discovering patterns or knowledge from the huge amounts of data. But actually, number of people did data mining is a not to new us. It is already one step in the knowledge discovery process. KDD. KDD means knowledge discovery process. So these are the following steps of knowledge discovery process. So actually, data came from different sources, databases. That's why different sources of data is there. And data integrating, combining data from multiple sources, then apply data cleaning. So these are the phases we will cover next. So data integration, data cleaning, selection, transformation, and loading into a data warehouse. From data warehouse to you selecting the task relevant data, applying data mining functions, then evaluate the patterns. What was patterns you are discovered? Evaluate the patterns, and finally represent the knowledge in the form of a visualization. Visualization, right? So these are the data mining and knowledge discovery process. You can see the knowledge discovery process. So what are the stages? So data knowledge discovery process consists of these are the steps. First, data cleaning. Actually, data came from different sources. That's why data came from different sources. Data integration, nothing but a data came from different sources combined into a coherent database. And after that, you apply the data cleaning. Suppose in the data, what was data you are received from different sources, data maybe contains a noise, error, or inconsistent data. So data cleaning is the process of removing noise, errors, or inconsistent in the data. So noise means some random error, or maybe some of the data may be missing. So some of the attributes may not have values. So before applying any data mining, you must be fulfill the data, perfect data. That's why data cleaning is an important step. Before applying any data mining technique, you must be clean the data to overcome missing, noise, inconsistent data. So integration is what? Combining data from different sources. Data selection, because data selection regarding your task, you selecting data from the task relevant. So according to your task, selecting relevant portion of data is nothing but a data selection. So in the data selection, nothing but a data may be selected according to your task, because we are finding some any information, or we are draw out any pattern. So regarding the pattern, you will selecting relevant portion of data from huge amounts of not required for entire data. Regarding your task, selecting a relevant portion of data, that is called data selection. And data transformation. So data will be transformed into a appropriate format, or a consolidated or summary information, or sometimes you will be transforming a data from the into a some smaller representation, like a normalization. You will apply the normalization technique, because all the values are fall into a smaller range for speed of the operation, So these 4 steps is called data pre-processing. So data pre-processing in the sense data cleaning, data integration, data selection, data transformation. So before applying any data mining techniques, you must be first done the data pre-processing. So data pre-processing in the sense integrate data from multiple sources, clean the data, selecting relevant portion of data, then transform into a summary information or smaller representation of data into a uniform range. Then next to a data mining engine. So apply the data mining engine. So regarding your task, because data mining consists of number of functions are there, like a classification, clustering, association, evolution analysis, number of techniques are there. Regarding your task, apply selecting the appropriate data mining function. So like a classification, clustering, you selecting the required or appropriate data mining function. Then after applying any data mining techniques, you discovering a pattern. You discover a pattern. So the pattern may be evaluate some metrics values, how it is interesting pattern or not interesting pattern. So the after discovering pattern, you must evaluating the pattern for interesting or not interesting. So then some threshold values are there, some threshold metrics are there. If you apply the metrics to fulfill the metrics at a certain range of values, pattern may be interesting, otherwise pattern is not interesting. So your what was discovered pattern must be evaluated, it is worthwhile or not, or interesting or not, applying some metrics. So like a association rules applies, for example, support to confidence metrics are used for evaluating the pattern. Then finally, one more, knowledge representation. So the what was discovered patterns, the discovered patterns having understandable or interesting, the patterns may be represented through a report with visualization or graphical representation. So mind knowledge is presented to the user with graphic or reporting tool. Reports, you can apply the reports to the visualization, because easily inspecting the what was patterns are discovered. So this is the knowledge discovery process, right? So knowledge discovery process, so that's why data mining is one step of the in the knowledge discovery. But nowadays this is a full-fledged process for finding patterns in the large amounts of data. Nowadays everywhere is there. So it is an interdisciplinary field, apply to any of the field, applies and finding patterns in the data and applications. So what are the applications? So that's why data mining is an interdisciplinary field. So the data mining techniques, data mining functions applies to data analysis and decision support, or marketing analysis and management, target marketing, customer relationship management, market basket analysis, cross-selling, market segmentation. So this is the applies the data mining techniques to what data analysis and decision support in market analysis and management too. And one more, risk analysis and management also, forecasting the sales, customer retention, improved underwriting, quality control, competitive analysis also done it to this risk analysis and management. And data mining techniques are applied to fraud detection. Fraud detection techniques, in the fraud detection, you will apply data mining for the fraud detection and detection of unusual patterns. They call outliers. You are finding outliers in the data. So fraud detection, suppose any telecommunications or any ATM credit card transactions or any fraud is there, you apply data mining techniques and finding any fraud is there or not. So these applications are using different applications. And other applications, so text mining. So in the news group, email, documents, or web mining, it is applies to even web mining also, Google search engine, or streaming data, bioinformatics, and biodata also. So it is a number of areas we will apply. We will apply the data mining to different applications for finding patterns. So these are the applications. And next one, before that, I want to discuss about it. What are the data mining functionalities? Data mining functionalities. So that's why just now I have explained. So data mining consists of number of functions. So these are the functions called class, concept, description. Class, concept, description are called characterization and discrimination. Characterization and discrimination. So data entries can be associated with classes or concepts. So data entries, what was data is there, that can be consists of with classes or concepts. So actually data characterization is a summarization of the general characteristics or features of a target class of data. So data characterization is a summarization of general characteristics or features of target class of data. Data discrimination is a comparison of general features of the target class data against general features from one or more contrasting classes. So this is the one of the function called class concept description. So this consists of data characterization and data discrimination. So generally data entries can be associated with classes or concepts. So data characterization, nothing but a summarization of general characteristics or features of a target class of data. For example, we have any data, for example, like a sales data analysis. In the sales database, for example, number of items are there. So for example, in the computer store, in the computer computer shop consists of computers, printers, and various class of items are there. Various class of items. Computers having the shop, hardware shop, we have the different types of computers and auxiliaries. So this is called a class of items. So computers, printers, scanners is called a class of items. But sometimes So class of this is called classes. So data consists of some class of data like a products. The products, number of products are there. They're called distinguished products, like classes of product, computers, printers, scanners. But what are the concepts means? So in the concepts, nothing but the customers are visit to the shop. So maybe we are distinguished two different types of customers. Maybe a regular customer, non-regular customer. They're called concepts. Regular customer, non-regular customer. So regular customer means frequently visit to the shop. Non-regular means maybe a per year 1 or 2 times visit. Within a month, for example, 2 or 3 times are called regular customer, non-regular customer. So they're called concepts. So data characters nothing but so summarization of the general features of a target class of data. But discrimination is the comparison of general features of target class against general features of contrasting classes. So contrasting class. So for example, generalize, summarize, and contrast data characteristics are, for example, we are comparing the sales with dry and wet regions. We will compare the dry versus wet regions. So this is the summarization like that. And one more so function called frequent patterns, association, correlation, like that. So frequent patterns. So frequent patterns are patterns that occur frequently in database. So frequent patterns are patterns that occur frequently in a database. A frequently item set typically refers to a set of items that often appear together in a transactional data. So frequent item set typically refers to a set of items that often appear together in a transactional data set. For example, you are going to a supermarket, for example, a customers often purchase milk and bread, which are frequently bought together. So, for example, milk and bread, a customer visit to the supermarket or any grocery store to purchasing a milk and bread together is called a frequent pattern. So, for example, when a customer visit to the computer shop, when a person buys a computer, automatically purchasing antivirus software also. A person visit to the shop, X person will buy a computer, automatically purchasing antivirus software also. Like a person visit to supermarket, milk is purchased, automatically taking bread also. So this is the for example, on the analysis of data, support to confidence metrics are satisfied. Here, 1% of customer to taking both products together is called support. So computer and antivirus software are purchased together is called a support metric. So 1%. And the analysis of data who are visit to supermarket, we will analyzing it. So 1% of customers whenever visit to, so both computer and antivirus software are purchased together 1%. But confidence means it is a conditional probability. When a person purchasing a computer, it likely to purchase antivirus software also. That is called confidence. So 50% of customers are when a customer purchasing computer, automatically purchasing antivirus software also. Like so in the grocery store also, when a customer purchasing a milk, then 50% chance is there customer purchasing bread also. So bread is so product, so conditional product. When a milk occurs, bread also likely to occur. So 50% of customers, whenever a visit to the grocery store, purchasing a milk, automatically purchasing bread also. So this is the association rule or frequent patterns. In the large shopping mall, we are finding what are the frequent patterns, frequent items are purchased from the supermarket. or from shopping mall, a big shopping malls are there. In the shopping mall, so number of customers, some hundred thousands of customers are going to purchase some items. Then what are the most of the customers are frequently what items are purchased together is called a frequent pattern or association rule. So the frequent patterns, so this is very important for finding a association between the items, that is called association rule. So association rule is a one of the pattern you will find from, we are calling as a market basket analysis. Market basket analysis. In the market basket analysis, so we are finding what items are frequently purchased by the customer. So this after finding trace out the, we are analyzing the customers, but who are the customers, which products are often purchased, applying the support coverage framework, then we will given the direction to the owners of the grocery store. So why not to put more stock, because now we have analyzed your data. In this data, when a customer, most of the customers visit your grocery store, milk purchase, automatic purchasing the bread also 50% of people visit to your grocery store. When a customer purchasing a milk, automatically purchasing bread also. So why you put bread and milk more stock quantity? So we'll give the decision to the shop owner. So these are the associates. This is one of the important function for finding association rules in the data mining. So these are the association rules, right? So frequent pattern, a patterns occurs frequently is called as a frequent pattern. But frequent patterns available in the set of items in the transaction table from transaction. So because each transaction contains transaction ID, list of items bought, then apply the association rule technique, like a number of algorithms are there. So we will deeply in the separate chapter is there. There we will apply the algorithm of a priori algorithm and finding a frequent patterns and generate strong association rules. One other function. And one more function, classification and regression. Classification and regression. So classification is the process of finding a model. Classification is the process of finding a model that describes and distinguishes data classes or concepts. So classification is also one of the major functions in the data mining. So classification is the process of finding a model that describes and distinguishes data classes or concepts. So the actually this classification work, the model is derived based on the analysis of training data. So training data is sample data. So the model first there in the classification two steps. First one is called building the model using training data, set of training data, and also class label also there. Class label also there. So actually list of attributes are there, and the last label indicating the last attribute indicating the class label. So label in the suppose we are previous example, we are distinguishing say customers like a regular customer, non-regular customer. So we want to classify based on the condition. So we want to classify a visit to the supermarket who are called regular customer, who are not a regular customer. So this called label is called regular, not regular is called label, but based on the some conditions. So what are the we are given the conditions like attributes: customer ID, customer name, customer ID name, and number of times occurs within a month, 3 or 4 times. Number of times occurs because in the year yearly once or 2 times rarely occurs. So based on this data, build a model training using training data. Then we are predicting. So the model is used after first step, building the model. Next model is used to predict the class label of objects for which class label is unknown. So class label is unknown. So classification is a building a model using training data. Model is used to predict the class label of objects for unseen data or unknown label. So this example indicate that who is a customer, have a promising a regular customer, not a regular customer. So then, but testing data label not there, model will predict, because actually the given database partition to the training data, testing data. Training data, 70% of data used building a model. Then 30% is used to evaluating the model, testing data with label not present. Then appropriate level of the metrics are like accuracy. Accuracy is appropriate level is there. The model will be used for unseen data used for classifying which label is there, or this classification used in medical diagnosis also. So for example, the doctor will diagnose a diabetic, for example, in the diabetic positive case or negative case. So the according to the doctor, based on the lab reports, he constructed a model, sample data, like a training data. So most of the, suppose for example, 2000 people, he analyzed it, 2000 people data is used to building a model with label also, which case having positive, which case has a negative of diabetic data. Then train the model, build the model, and testing the model with the testing data. If testing is accuracy appropriate level is there, the model will be applied to unseen patient, new patient will come, immediately data will enter, and the system, the model will predict diabetic is a positive or negative. So this is the classification. So classification is a one of the main important function in the data mining. Even classification also, number of algorithms are there depending upon the accuracy level. Various algorithms are available to, like a decision tree, Navy base, neural networks, support reclamations, like number of algorithms are there used for building a model and predicting for unseen data. So model may be used to predict the class level of unseen data. So that's why this is called supervised learning. So mainly in the classification is under the category of supervised learning, unsupervised learning. In the supervised learning, actually the training data consists of a class label also. In the supervised learning, class label also known in advance. So at the time of training data given to the label also, under what conditions the label, for example, the diabetic at what conditions is positive, what conditions negative is there. So we have given the label also known in advance. So this, based on this training data, label is known. Then we will construct a model. Then the model used for unseen data, but label not given, label predicted by the model. So this is the classification. But one more also, regression. So regression also like a classification, but regression are used for continuous numerical values, numerical data. But categorical data, the classification used for categorical data to distinguishing classes. So regression model also like a classification, but it is only for numerical data, is called prediction model. So it's predicting some unknown or missing numerical value. Suppose some data will given it to, for example, person age height. For example, person age height is there. Some of the person height is missing. Then appropriate to construct the linear regression model. Then finding the where is the missing is there. If a person, for example, x equal to then height 180 centimeters, 175 centimeters. So what is the weight like that? So they call numerical data like a linear regression. So predict some unknown or missing numerical value. So based on this classification and regression is the major function for predicting future tuples. So in these classification regression are using in the medical diagnosis, weather reporting, or other scientific organizations. Number of organizations are using classification and regression models for predicting these values. So these are the classification, regression, one of the function. And one more function called cluster analysis, clustering. So classification, clustering. So classification, I have just now explained supervised learning, but clustering is a unsupervised learning. Clustering is a unsupervised learning. The difference of classification and clustering, also clustering analyzing data objects without consulting class label. Same. So some similarities are there. Classification, clustering. Clustering also analyzing data object without consulting class label. That's why label not known. In the training data of classification, label will be present, but clustering label not present. So class label is unknown. Class label is unknown. So this cluster is a process of grouping data from different categories. So clustering is a process of grouping data. For example, in the houses, so cluster the houses to find some distribution of patterns. So we will partition we will group the houses or municipality department, for example, municipal department to collecting the taxes. Houses may be a group based on some properties, based on the similar property. Based on the properties, they are grouped into different clusters, different group. So different groups are forming, but label not there. After forming the groups, then given the appropriate label. So classification, supervised learning, clustering, unsupervised, because why unsupervised means label not known. Classification is supervised learning because label known in advance. So it is a partitioning methods. So clustering method is a grouping of data. Or for example, the animal classification based on the properties, animals are partitioned clusters, two clusters, for example, wild animals to domestic animals. So based on the properties of animals, so we will group it to cluster it to a domestic animal or wild animal. So this example called clustering. So objects are clustered or grouped based on the principle of maximizing the intra-class similarity and minimizing inter-class similarity. So objects are clustered or grouped based on the principle of maximizing the intra-cluster similarity and minimizing inter-class similarity, because objects are partitioned into clusters based on the properties, but maximizing intra-class similarity means within the cluster, like wild animals, within the wild animals, so intra-class, the maximizing similar property, intra-class similarity maximizing within the cluster, but these properties are dissimilar to other cluster. That's why it's called minimizing interclass similarity. Intra-class similarity within the cluster, maximizing the similarity because all similar objects are one group and it is dissimilar to another group. That's why it is minimizing the intra-class similarity. So cluster to cluster different because the cluster is forming one group, one more cluster, one group, or within the group having similarity. That's why maximizing the within the cluster similarity, minimizing the cluster to cluster, because based on the properties only we are partitioned into different clusters. So these are the clustering technique also used in number of areas. Mainly clustering techniques used like a fraud detection or finding outliers in the whenever the data received, any outliers are there, outliers are detected through clustering techniques. So in the clustering technique also, clustering functions, a number of algorithms are there. The algorithms like k-means algorithm, k-media algorithm, hierarchical clustering, density based clustering, number of algorithms are there. We will cover next class of different clustering algorithms are there for grouping of data into different clusters. So cluster dissimilarity within the cluster, maximizing the similarity. So this is the clustering also one of the data mining function. And one more, outlier analysis. Outlier. So outlier means data object that does not comply with the general behavior of the data. Outlier is nothing but a data objects. The data does not comply the general behavior of the data. For example, the data are nice also, or exception, some deviation. So it is useful to find a fraud detection or rare events analysis. So generally, when the data is came different sources, the data may be some of the attributes may be some unknown value, or it is not comply with general data. For example, in the age attribute is there in the column of age attribute. Age, for example, -5 is there. So -5 age, it is not a normal value. It is so for long distance than normal value. Or suppose in the employee database salary column, salary, for example, salary field attribute. So 5,000 salary of 5 lakhs. So it is a deviation to normal range of values. These are called outliers. These are called outliers. So detecting the outliers using clustering techniques. So outlier analysis is nothing but so object data consists of does not related to the general properties of data. This some sort of deviation is there, like outliers or noise or exception. So these are the data mining functions. So these are the very important to the data mining functions, all having the functions classification, clustering, association, category discrimination, outlier analysis. So these are the various data mining functions. Data mining functions. And one more having, right? So can you understand this one? Data mining functions, definition of data mining, why data mining. So, and also applications, where the applications are using like that. So you can see the one more concept, like what are the multi-dimensional way of data. What's one more is the multi-dimensional way of data mining. So in this multi-dimensional, there are number of views of data mining. One is called data to be mined. So data to be mined, nothing but what kind of data to be used for mining? Kind of data. So data, maybe that's why data mining is a diverse data types. So diverse data came different sources. So data to be mined from relational database, data warehouse, transactional, stream data, object-oriented, relational object, spatial data, time series data, multimedia data. That's why it is called heterogeneous database. So what kind of data to be mined? What kind of data to be mined means data to be mined, data came from heterogeneous databases, like a relational database applies, data warehouse applies, transaction data, streaming data, object-oriented data, time series data, spatial data, multimedia like. So that's why it's called heterogeneous data is there. You apply the data mining techniques. So that's why what kind of data to be applies. So these are the different data basis apply your data mining techniques also. And next, what are the data? Because different data in is called multidisciplinary field. Any field apply data mining techniques to finding the patterns. But one more called view, knowledge. What kind of knowledge to be mined? What kind of knowledge to be mined? So kind of knowledge, like just now you have explained, data mining functions like characterization, discrimination, association also, clustering, classification, outlier analysis, because different kind of knowledge is there depending upon the task, depending upon the data. What kind of data? I want relational database or data warehouse or streaming data. Then I want to apply spatial data, time series data, then association rules or clustering, classification like that. So it is a multiple integrated functions mining at multiple levels. Mining at multiple levels are there. And techniques. What techniques you will apply? What are techniques? So database techniques are database oriented, or data warehouse view, multi or machine learning, statistics, visualization. Because data, what techniques means we are using database oriented or data warehousing like OLAP, online analytical processing, machine learning, statistical methods, visualization. So various techniques also using the finding a knowledge, statistical techniques or machine learning, data warehouse view or database oriented view. And applications, what are the applications? So like number of, that's why we have already covered number, which application, what are the areas applies for data mining. It is a multidisciplinary field. If data mining techniques are applies retail, telecommunications, banking, fraud analysis, then biodata mining, stock market analysis, text mining, web mining, etc. So these are the various application means kind of what are different views, multi-dimensional way of data mining means kind of data, kind of knowledge, techniques applies, applications are adapted. So these are the various data mining techniques are applies for different cases. Okay, so different cases having data mining is applied. That's why data mining is an interdisciplinary field for finding patterns. These patterns are useful for decision makers. So what was actually data was collected, but what is there without analysis? So without analysis, what is there? So we want to analyzing the data. It is useful to the organization. So these having data mining functions and some other concepts are the techniques, applications are covered of it, KDD process. Okay. So this is the data mining introduction part. So I gave the data mining introduction part simply. So you will understanding the minimal requirement of data mining introduction part. And next class, I will take the elaborately of different functions of data mining. We will see it. Okay. Thank you for this.